Hello, I am Bert Janssen. Welcome back to the series of short videos in which I explain the book The Organizing Principle, There Are No Coincidences. In the previous videos, I've talked about the two aspects of synchronistic events, the non-physical and the physical, and how they are connected through their common origin, which lies outside the realm of space, time, and causality. In other words, the two aspects are not held by space or time. The situation in which the non-physical aspect precedes the physical is easy to understand. You first have a premonition, a precognition, or a vision about an event, and then the event happens. But what about the situation in which the physical event in the now, in the present, triggers the organizing principle to generate a non-physical event in the past, which then generates the physical event we see in the now? While living in Hamburg, Germany, Jan Schwahoff visits an exhibition organized by Wolfgang Schindler. You remember him? I talked about Wolfgang Schindler in the 5th video. He is the man who, together with John Martineau, discovered the hidden pentagonal geometry in the early crop circles in England, the crop circles of the 1980s and early 1990s. At the heart of pentagonal geometry, you can find the golden ratio. It is because of this that Jan Schwahoff, who studied art, got interested in the work of Wolfgang Schindler, and with that he got interested in crop circles. Before I move on, I want you to know that there is a direct link between pentagonal geometry and squaring the circle. Every pentagram is connected to squaring the circle. In the add-on video, I explain how this works and what role the golden ratio plays in this. So when I talk about pentagonal geometry, I at the same time talk about squaring the circle. That is why I focused on the work of Wolfgang Schindler and Alan Brown in one and the same video. When you say pentagram, you say squaring the circle. After meeting Wolfgang Schindler, Jan Schwahoff started studying the crop circles that had appeared in northern Germany in the late 1990s, to see if these crop circles were also containing hidden pentagonal geometry and connections to the tracks left behind by the farmer's tractor, as Wolfgang Schindler had found in the British crop circles. Schwahoff was pleasantly surprised to see that nearly all crop circles he investigated were containing hidden pentagonal geometry, and with that they were connected to the so-called trem lines, the tracks left behind by the farmer. Schwahoff also calculated the odds of this happening by chance, which turned out to be some 35%. The number of cases Jan Schwahoff had found was way beyond the 35%. Chance could safely be ruled out. While Schwahoff was very content with the results, he was in for an enormous, unpleasant surprise. It turned out that all the crop circles he had studied were man-made. After the first shock had faded away, Schwahoff realized that one very important question was left unanswered. Since the people who had created the crop circles insisted that they had not used any diagrams or any premeditated shapes, how was it possible that nearly all of these crop circles were containing hidden pentagonal geometry and were connected to the trem lines? Schwahoff re-examined all the drawings and diagrams and measurements, thinking that he had made a mistake. But the results were the same. Nearly all these crop circles contained hidden pentagonal geometry and were connected to the trem lines. Schwahoff contacts Wolfgang Schindler, and the two decide to give it a try themselves, although they will use a diagram. And on the night of the 21st of June 2003, they set out to make, with the permission of the farmer, their design in a field. The next day, after having taken all the necessary measurements, Schwahoff and Schindler are shocked to find that their crop circle does not contain any pentagonal geometry, let alone connections to the trem line. They had completely failed. The diagram had some flaws, and they also had made mistakes during the making of the crop circle. The next night, Schindler and Schwahoff decide to give it another try. It is a completely spontaneous action. With no preparation and with no diagram, they put the letter I followed by a copyright sign in the field. The next day, Schwahoff and Schindler are stunned to find that this circle does contain all kinds of hidden pentagonal geometries and connections to the trem lines. I find this an extremely interesting case. The first crop circle made by Schwahoff and Schindler, where they used a diagram and they used their mind, did not show any special features. But the second crop circle, where they only used their intuition, did show all these strange hidden geometries. Exactly the same goes for all the crop circles Jan Schwahoff had studied. They were all made by people who only used their intuition. And nearly all crop circles they created contained hidden pentagonal geometries, and with that squaring the circle. Here we see the same as we have already seen at Stonehenge. A physical event, in this case a crop circle containing squaring the circle, triggers the organizing principle to generate a non-physical event in the past which showed up as an intuition, as an inner voice, motivating and directing people to make the circles in such a way that they would contain pentagonal geometry, and with that squaring the circle, which then would trigger the organizing principle, etc., etc. Another phantom loop, as we have also already seen in the previous video. And as with the builders of Stonehenge and many other ancient sites, the people who created the crop circles were not consciously aware of what they were creating. A physical event in the now, in the present, can trigger the organizing principle to generate a non-physical event in the past, which then forms the motivation to create the physical event we see in the now. That is already fascinating by itself, but it can also work the other way around. A non-physical activity in the now, in the present, can change a physical situation in the past. This looks to be impossible, but in the next video I will show exactly such a thing. I see you there.